everybody, I decided to make this video to look at Illaoi and Sett and Aatrox. These three were juggernauts inadvertently affected by the bruiser item update. They were nerfed really hard by the item changes, and Riot saw fit to buff all three of them. So we're going to look at them. Were the buffs enough? Did they help them? How are they doing compared to before the item buffs? You know, what's going on with these three champions? We're going to go through all three of them one at a time. We're going to try to keep this a concise video, and we're going to try to keep it so you guys know everything that happened. Now, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a comment down below. All three of those things help me immeasurably, and I appreciate it when you do, especially you guys' feedback on the videos. So the first up is Illaoi. Illaoi's win rate has gone up considerably. Now this is at all ranks, so this is at the lower ranks, okay? Don't think that this is like high ranking Illaoi is, no. So Illaoi last patch was at a 48% win rate at all ranks. That's where she does best because she's more of a low ranking champion. She was at the 33 highest pick rate, 48% win rate. She was not doing good at all. After the buffs, which I'll go into in a second, she got a 51% win rate, so it's a 3.5% climb, and is up to the 24th highest pick rate. Now at the higher ranks here, so like I'll go D2 plus. We can see Illaoi is hard to find, but she's 43 highest pick rate, 50% win rate. So she's not doing that amazing at the high ranks, but at least she's like playable now. She's not a troll pick, so it's fine for Illaoi. Yeah, I would say she's doing just fine after this one. What were the buffs? Why did she do good? Well, her base attack speed went up by about 10%. For those guys who don't know, all attack speed multipliers, including your attack speed per level, just multiply your base attack speed. So if you increase the base attack speed of a champion, that increases everything multiplying that number. So she got 10% more attack speed level 1, level 18, at all levels she got 10% more because the base multiplier went up. That's a pretty good buff. I mean, Illaoi doesn't tend to sit there and auto attack people, but it gives her more capability to hit people who are mobile and things like that. In addition, the AD ratio on her W went up from 2% health damage per 100 AD to 4% health damage per 100 AD. Now remember, that does include her base damage, of which she has a lot. Going in at 68 to 153 base damage, one of the highest in the entire game. So Illaoi, just by default, gained about 3% health damage on her W level 18 with no damage built at all. So more base attack speed, more AD ratio on her W, she can hit people a lot more often. Illaoi just benefited from this change because it made her a lot stronger, which is really all she needed to do, and that's what happened to Illaoi. So she's good at the low ranks, she's playable at the higher ranks, and yeah, that's about where she is. Next up, I'm gonna have Sett. Now, Sett actually surprised me, and let me tell you why it surprised me. Early in this patch cycle, it looked like the buff helped him, but not by that much, and that's about where I figured it would be. Because when we look at Sett and we look what they buffed on him, it was a decent buff, but it didn't seem like something that insane. It was his health per level went from 93 to 100. So I think something about that's like 130 more HP at level 18. It made up for the nerf to Gore Drinker. If you remember Gore Drinker, which is the item he builds, that item lost about 150, well, not about, it did lose 150 HP, so he gained 130 HP on his kit, but only at level 18, and he lost 150 from Gore Drinker. Now he does get the increased damage from Gore Drinker, mind you, but Sett went up to a 51% win rate at all ranks. Now if you look at last patch, he was down to a 49.57%, and now he's up to a 51%. So that's a 1.5 shoot on the win rate of an already high ranking champion, second pick to second pick. So I really did not expect that, but actually what I really didn't expect is when we start looking at the higher ranks, Sett pushed once again into being a top 5 pick champion with a 50% win rate at Platinum. And before you say, well, that's only Platinum, even once you go to Masters Plus, he's not doing amazing at a 48% win rate, 12th highest pick rate, so he's not doing amazing. But I mean, if we compare this to last patch, where Sett, I think, was basically dead in top. Yeah, Sett was okay. Actually, apparently his Masters win rate didn't move very much, much to my chagrin. Huh? Yeah, no, actually, I'm wrong. No, his high ranking, his Masters viability, his pick rate went up a little bit, but once we start talking about Masters Plus, I guess he didn't do that much, which actually that does make sense when you think about it, because late game health growth doesn't do that much. Now remember, the amount of stats you get per level, like level 1 to 2, you only get 60% of your stats per level. Level 17 to 18, you get 140% of your stats per level. So increasing his health per level impacts the late game significantly more than it impacts the early game. And now remember, the low ranks go into late game far more often. So it does make a little bit of sense. It's weird that he didn't see that much of a jump at Masters Plus, when even when we look at D2 Plus, he saw 1.5% win rate increase, a large pick rate increase last patch to this patch. But then Masters Plus, he barely dodged. Although I suspect that might be due to Aatrox being in such high pick demand right now, and Aatrox doesn't hard counter Sett, but he does decent into him, right? So maybe that's what's going on. I think it's probably just because games are so fast that he can't use his health growth buff very well. And then last up we have Aatrox. As you've probably noticed, Aatrox is doing quite well, being the #1 pick at all of the higher ranks. At the lower ranks, he's up to 13th highest pick, 48% win rate. So at all ranks, he's still doing he's not great, not terrible. He's doing He's always not been that well at the low ranks anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. It pushes him back to about where he used to be, which is fine. What was the buff for Aatrox? They increased the sweet spot damage on his Q from 60% to 50% to 60%. No, they did not nerf him. So that's going from 150% damage on his sweet spot to 160%. That's a 6.6% damage buff, rounded to 6.7% damage buff. In other words, when you crit your Qs, or sweet spot your Qs, I'm trying to get out of the habit of calling them crits, because some of you guys think that they're literally crits, and then you ask me about Infinity Edge Aatrox. That's not a thing. But anyway, going from a 6.7% damage increase on his sweet spots has actually been pretty decent. Remember, Aatrox's damage is super limited. Because of how his Q cooldown works, every time you use your Q, it resets the cooldown back. So you can't go infinite with this Q. If you Q, wait, Q, you end up with a super long total cooldown. Because remember, every time you use it, it resets the cooldown back to the original. He's the opposite of Riven in that regard. So his damage is super limited, and he needs to kill people when he's got his Q. So this buff definitely did help him kill people when he has his Q. Another thing you guys might not know, and I was surprised that so many of you guys didn't know this, because I've put out videos and I've talked about this a lot. Okay, let's talk about this. Why did this buff affect Aatrox so hard? Well, when we look at Aatrox and you guys see that he has 30% Omnivamp, but it's not Omnivamp during his E, or in his E, and then 50% when he's in his ultimate. Then his ultimate gives him 30 to 60% more healing. Now, remember, I'm just going to put some key points here, okay? Aatrox's E is not Omnivamp. Omnivamp is reduced by 66% on AoE abilities. So, if Aatrox is to use Gore Drinker, just for the record, his Q would only get 3.3% of the healing. 3%, so 3.3% because it's 66% of 10% Omnivamp. So Aatrox's Q doesn't scale well with actual Omnivamp. Aatrox's E is not Omnivamp. It just heals 100% based on your damage. It doesn't get modified or anything like that. If you do 10 damage, Aatrox's E would heal you for 3, because it just heals 30%, and that's just how it works. It's just healing based on damage. Aatrox heals far and away more than any other champion. So Aatrox's E is 50% during his ultimate. Now that's at rank 3, or sorry, rank 5 of your E. So you can see it goes 26 to 50% during your ultimate. So that's not like rank 1 or anything like that. And then his ultimate gives him 60% more healing. So 60% more healing of that. During ult, Aatrox heals 80% of all damage. So when we factor in that a buff to Aatrox's damage is considerable, because he heals 80% of all damage, and the fact that his damage is super limited, so he has to kill people during it. This is what I was talking in my patch preview video. I was saying, man, that buff actually might be kind of impactful. I didn't know whether or not it was going to be super impactful, but I was like, that buff might be way more impactful than people are making it out to be. And we can see, once again, he's the highest pick rate. His win rate isn't, I mean, it's 50%, which is good, but yeah. He's got the highest pick rate at Plat Plus, at Diamond Plus, at D2 Plus, and then at Masters Plus, he loses out to Graves. Now, Graves is getting that Hull Breaker nerf, so he might go back down. I'll talk about that in another video. But, yeah. So, Aatrox did really good. So, it's Aatrox, that's Sett, and that's Illaoi. All three of them actually benefited quite well. Sett is back to being pretty good at the low ranks. He's pretty solid all the way until Masters Plus. Illaoi is pretty solid at the low ranks. She's not as good as the other two. Sett is better at the low ranks, Aatrox is better at the high ranks, and both of them are doing pretty good right now, at least so far as top lane is concerned. Illaoi is kind of, yeah, she's there, and that's how these buffs worked. So thank you all for watching. I hope that you guys enjoy playing those champions. If you guys want to tell me how you think those champions are doing, because once again, win rate and pick rate doesn't tell the entire story. I've got my own opinions on, I think Aatrox's win rate will probably sink a little bit as more people are used to it, and maybe we could talk about this in the future. But yeah, I mean, you could, if you guys want to give me your feedback, give me your ideas, you know, what do you think? Have you been playing them? How do the buffs feel for you? You know, you can make sure to tell me that. Oh, one thing I did miss is because Sett's health, because Sett does damage based on his health for his W, the health growth, while being good because he's a Juggernaut and all that, it does slightly increase his damage and his W as well because he has more health to punch into his shield. So that's actually one thing I missed. It's not just a pure health. Sett does have some health scaling here. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for subscribing. Special shout out. I say that every time now. It's like I Freudian slipped myself into only saying it like that now. Special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you all for supporting me. You can support my videos for as little as $3 a month. The description is in the link. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye bye, everybody.